Hi everybody. So in this video, we'll try to do the purchasing part. So including the setup of all the auxiliary data structures in the database, as well as connecting to Stripe. So in order to use the payment integration that's built in Moment, we should first create a table. So this is required. We're going to create an order table. The structure of the order table is you can determine that yourself. In this case, we'll create it. I'll create it for you, right? So you can just follow it. Instead of calling it order, which is actually a SQL keyword, we'll call it purchase order. And this will avoid a lot of issues. In fact, we disallow you to use SQL keywords as table names to prevent any kind of issues downstream. So we create this purchase order, and a couple of things we need to keep track of. First of all, like how much. So that is how much, and then who bought it. So let's do it that way. An account can have multiple orders. So in the target table, which is in the purchase order table, we call it the purchaser. And in the current table, we call it orders. Okay, so account has many orders. And in the purchase order table, we have a bunch of purchasers. Okay, so that's created. And what else do we need a status to keep track of the order's status, because an order can be paid and not paid and all that. And also, the order should be tied to courses. It's not necessarily needed, but let's do that. So we have a course has many orders associated with it. So inside the target table is going to be purchase order, right? So inside the purchase order, it's just going to be called the course, and also inside the course, it'll be related orders. So let's call it related orders. Okay, I think that should be all we need for this particular thing, and we should also define in our own mind the status of the course. So maybe it's like pending and successful. That'll probably be the things we need. Let's update the backend. Take a while. And now it's done. So the second thing we need, well, first let's activate that. It's gonna ask us for stuff. So purchase order, confirm. Now we need the Stripe public key and Stripe private key. In this example, I'm gonna be using my own keys. So these are from Stripe Sandbox. So with the Sandbox, you can use a Sandbox only things like what do you call those? Cards that have infinite amount of money, for example. So we'll put it in here. That's a public key. And then we have the secret key, and you just put it here. We called it the private key. I don't know why. Once you save, you're going to be four action flows will be created for you. And now we save. And we actually will end up with more webhooks, I think. So let's refresh. Okay, we're saved QP. Oh, QP7 something. Well, we'll see. Okay, so now that's saved. let's go to here, and we see that we have successful and others, right? So these are automatically created for you, and it's used to handle Stripe callbacks. And let's take a look. It says Actionflow data, payment status is successful, and callback processed is false. And that's just to keep track of whether something has been already processed, so we don't want to add the same things twice. And here is these are this is a code component, sorry, a code block, and it keeps track of payment status. Payment is a table that's created for you by default when you enable payment Stripe integration. It's a system table that you don't get to see. Okay, and in here we're gonna set the payment status, and we're gonna set the callback process. If we have already processed the callback, then we'll say, like, Stripe may issue multiple callbacks to you. It's not guaranteed that when a user successfully pay you, Stripe notifies you once. Stripe can notify you multiple times for the same event, right? So that's their guarantee, and then we have to handle that. So we actually need one more condition. We're gonna have it as, let's call this failed, and then call this others. Okay, so what is failed? Failed is when the callback handler's payment status is equal to failed. And where do we find that? Well, it is here. Okay, so that's failed, and this one's everything else. It just has nothing, right? Successful is when you have it's not been processed and it's successful, and this one is if it's set to failed, and this one here is everything else, which is basically if it's payment successful, but it's the second time we get called. So let's actually call this repeated, right? Okay, so when it's successful, what we need to do is first update the order to mark it as paid. Okay, so let's do that. Update data, and we're going to update the purchase order, and the amount we won't touch, the account we won't touch, and the status is going to be the same as the payment status. It doesn't have to be. It's just easy because both of them are either successful or failed or pending. In fact, this one can be pending. But we're going to just update that into successful. So this is update order. And then we need to certainly limit the purchase order that we're updating to the order ID that was identified within the custom code. So the whole thing works as when you issue a payment, when the user issues a payment to you through Stripe, it will pass the order ID, which we will do on the front end. And that particular order ID is going to be passed back to you in the callback when Stripe processes the payment, and then we'll pick it out here, and then you can then use it in the following subsequent nodes. Okay, so we updated the order, but on top of that, we have to also insert the ownership. The ownership is tracked via account has course. So the owner account is going to be the same as the orders purchaser account. And this is another important thing that Moment allows you to do. If you update something, you don't have to specify what you return from it. If we find out that you do need a particular piece of data from the stuff that you just updated, we'll fetch it automatically and return it, so you don't have to deal with that. And the course ID, again, is going to be the course that's in the order. And on conflict, so if we already have this particular unique account has course, then we do nothing. Or you can update, doesn't really matter, because this just says that you can only own the same course once, because it doesn't really make much sense to own it twice, and also it makes deleting ownership or modifying ownership a lot more difficult. So this we could add course. Okay, so when it's failed, we'll just mark the order as failed. Or we could just we could use payment status, since it's failed. It's also going to be failed. We also filter so that the ID of the purchase order is the same as the handler's order ID. And if it's repeated, we just do nothing. Right? So this would set order to failed. Okay. And that's all we need to do for the backend portion of it. To recount, when the user finishes paying us through Stripe, Stripe will send us a callback, one or more callback, with the message successful. If it's not successful, then it will send us a failed state. And we're then, if it's successful and it's the first time we see the callback, we're going to update the order and add the course to the ownership of the account. Otherwise, if it's failed, we'll set the order to failed so we can see that the order has failed. And if it's repeated, callback, then we do nothing. Okay, now that we have created all the necessary stuff for the payment, so now let's update the backend. I've had an issue previously, but this time it should just go smoothly. And once that updates, and if we go back to, okay, so if we now refresh the Stripe webhook list, we should see 4 of them. One of them is going to be responsible for the invoice. The other one is going to be for the refund. One is going to be for subscriptions changes, and the last one is going to be for the successful payment. Okay, and these are created. These endpoints are created that automatically on Moment. And with that done, we can now go to here and start creating the orders. Okay, and we are going to create an action flow to create the order, so we can hide the order. So the order's amount is not entered from the front end, so it's actually fetched from the course's price. So we'll call this create order. and it's going to take two inputs. One is going to be the course ID, and that will be a big int, and the second one we'll call it the account ID, and it's also going to be a big int. So the reason this is safe is because first we can limit who can create orders for that particular account ID in the permissions later. Secondly, even if we didn't do that, it's kind of pointless for a person to cheat, because if he created an order for someone else and paid for it, then he's just going to be spending money for someone else, and there's no incentive of doing it. Okay, so we first have to query out the course with that particular ID. Look at the course ID, and we'll just call this thing query course. And then we're gonna create a order. The amount is gonna be the course's price, and the purchaser account is gonna be the account ID. Status is gonna be pending, and the course itself is gonna be the so anything that says course underscore something, and that's actually the foreign key field. Payment record, we don't have any because that's going to be inserted when the callback comes back. And I think that's about it. We'll rename this to create order, and we need to return two things. One is the order ID, and that would be a big int, and then we'll also, and that's going to be coming from the orders ID and then the price amount. So we're going to return the amount, and the amount is going to be the this thing, and that's going to be the amount here. We'll do an extra check to see if that the amount paid is equal to the orders. Query data, fetch the order, get the amount. Sorry, get the ID to equal to the order ID. First, fetch the order, and we call this query order, and then we do a conditional. One is fully paid, and the other one is not fully paid. Okay, so fully paid is when the orders amount is equal to you can also query the payment record, whose order ID is equal to the order ID that's passed in. Call this query payment, and if it's fully paid, that amount is equal to payments grand total value. Actually, we don't need this guy. We don't need this guy. We just need the query payments grand total value is equal to payments purchase orders amount. Okay, so if these are equal, then we're fully paid, and then we'll update the order to and add the course. So I'm going to cut this and paste it here. And I'm going to cut this and paste it here. And I'm just get rid of the copy here. Get rid of the copy here. Rebind this data. And of course, we're going to rebind this data again. Okay. And if it's not fully paid, we will update the order to partially paid, and then we'll have to deal with it some other way. We don't. Yeah. So we'll just update this status to partially paid. And the filter again is going to be equal to the order ID. All right, so we'll save this and do an update. I'll actually rename this as well. Rename this to update order to partially paid. We will have to handle the, let's see if we get the purchase, get the payment. What we can do is get all the payments, and then in here, it's not just grand total value, it's going to be Actionflow grand total values sum equal to what the, or greater than or equal to the corresponding. We actually have to fetch the order now. Get the payment, right? No, get the purchase order. And then we have the purchase orders ID equaling to the order ID. We just fetch one of them. This we call this query payment, query order. And then here, that will be orders amount. Okay, so now we save it. And we'll update the backend. Okay, now this is done. So on the front end, what we'll do is first create the order. So request, Actionflow, and then we're gonna hold on. We did not save this. So create order. And the course ID is gonna be the current course ID. The account ID is gonna be the logged in user's ID. And if that's successful, we'll start a payment. And the order ID is gonna be the order ID, currency is USD, and the amount is going to be a formula of multiply, because they're going to be cents. Multiply the amount by 100. So that gives us the cents. And if the thing fails, we're just going to do a toast saying that this is getting quite unwieldy, so we open up, right? So when action is successful, we do a Stripe payment. Otherwise, we do a toast. Creating order failed. Okay, cool. Okay, so we have now fully configured the create order and the Stripe payment callback action flows. It's gonna handle this one. Is gonna handle when thing is successful, and then in here we have created the create order action flow, and if it's successful, we're gonna make a payment using Stripe. So let's go to Mira and try it out. We click create now. We do end up with some Stripe payment thing, and we're gonna just pay using a fake card. 4242 is a default fake card, and we're gonna click pay now. And you see this now update. So that's a proof that our payment has gone through. This is our and inside the database, you can also take a look at account has course. You should see that now we have the course 2, and the course 2 is key difference and pricing explained. That's the one, key difference and pricing explained. Okay, and in the purchase order, we've created a bunch of pending ones, and we have one that is successful. That was one that we just executed. Those were the ones that I was testing. Okay, and then if we delete all of the ownership of the for this particular account 01, we should see that this goes back to the old state. So it no longer has access to this thing. And that is payment.